What's up, everyone, and welcome to episode 69 of the Idiotic Sports Talk. I'm your host, Liam Gavin, coming to you live from my dining room, and today I want to talk about the Week 2 recap around the NFL. A lot of fun games, a lot of thrillers and excitement. Let's get into it. Let's start with the Thursday night game between the Washington football team and the New York Giants. Washington won 30-29. Taylor Heineke had 336 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Terry McLaurin was his favorite weapon that day, 11 catches for 107 yards and a touchdown. Daniel Jones for the Giants had 249 yards passing, a touchdown, 95 yards rushing, and a rushing touchdown. And his favorite target was Sterling Shepard, who had 9 catches for 94 yards. New York had a chance to win. Darius Slayton dropped a wide-open touchdown. Dexter Lawrence jumped offside on a field goal, which Washington missed. So they got another try, and Washington kicked the field goal and won the game. I didn't expect this game to have 59 points total. I expected it to have under 40 or 45. But yeah, they threw me for a curveball. On to the next game, the Sunday games, which would be the Raiders taking on the Steelers. The Raiders won 26-17. Derek Carr, 328 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no interception. And his favorite target was Henry Ruggs with 5 catches for 113 yards and a touchdown. Big Ben had 295 yards passing, a touchdown, and an interception. And his receiver, Deontay Johnson, had 9 catches for 105 yards. My thoughts were that the Raiders looked great on the road versus the Steelers. I thought the Steelers' D was going to step up and stop Derek Carr, but I was absolutely wrong. Derek Carr lit them up this Sunday afternoon. Next is the Niners beating the Eagles 17-11. Jimmy G had 189 yards passing, a touchdown, no interceptions, and a rushing touchdown. Deebo Samuel, 6 catches for 93 yards. Jalen Hurts of the Eagles, 190 yards passing, no touchdowns or interceptions, but he did have 82 yards rushing and a rushing touchdown. And Quez Watkins was their best receiver that game with 2 catches for 117 yards. As a Cowboys fan, I want to say thank you to the 49ers for beating the divisional rival. This was a close game, and I'm surprised that no team was able to turn the ball over this game. That's the stat that surprised me. Next is the Browns beating the Texans 31-21. Baker Mayfield, 213 passing yards, a touchdown, a rushing touchdown, and an interception. Nick Chubb, 95 yards and a touchdown. Tyrod Taylor had 125 yards passing, a passing and rushing touchdown, and no interceptions, but left the game with a hamstring injury. And Brandon Cooks had 9 catches for 78 yards and a touchdown. What I noticed about this game is that the Browns can run the ball very well. We already knew this, and they just picked up right where they left off. And it's sad to see Tyrod Taylor hurt. Guy's been balling. He's always getting bounced around team to team, and he puts on a show everywhere he goes. So heal up, Tyrod. Next is the Broncos beating the Jags 23-13. Teddy Bridgewater, 328 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Cortland Sutton, his receiver, had 9 catches for 159 yards. And tight end Noah Fant and receiver Tim Patrick also each had a touchdown catch. As for Trevor Lawrence and the Jags, T-Law, he had 118 passing yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions. Marvin Jones was his guy that day, 6 catches, 55 yards, and a touchdown. I really like what Teddy has been doing with Denver. Hopefully he could continue playing this good. And as for Trevor Lawrence, struggling. He's struggling his first 2 NFL games, and it just goes to show that the NFL is way different of an animal than college football. Next is the Panthers beating up the Saints 26-7. Sam Darnold, 305 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Christian McCaffrey had 72 rushing yards, a rushing touchdown, and he had 5 catches for 79 yards. DJ Moore had 8 catches, 79 yards, and a touchdown. Jameis Winston, he had 1,100 passing yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a rushing touchdown. I thought Darnold looks great as a Panther. It seems like he's getting in his groove. Panthers defense was absolutely relentless too, with 2 picks and a sack. And is the old Jameis Winston back? Just the other week he threw 5 touchdowns, didn't turn the ball over. This week he turned the ball over. So do we have the Buccaneers Jameis Winston, or are we going to get more of the Jameis Winston that played against Green Bay? We'll really see. We'll find out. There's a lot of football to be played. Next is the Rams beating the Colts in an epic game, 27-24. Matt Stafford, 278 yards passing, 2 touchdowns and an interception. Darrell Henderson had 53 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown, but left the game with a rib injury. Cooper Kupp had 9 catches, 163 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Monster game out of him. Carson Wentz had 247 yards passing, a passing touchdown, and an interception, but left the game with an ankle injury. So in comes Jacob Eason, who had only 25 yards passing, no touchdowns, and an interception. And Micah Pittman Jr., the second-year receiver, had 8 catches for 123 yards. This was a very thrilling game. The Rams were up 17-6, but the Colts made it 21-7 after a special teams touchdown. But Matt Stafford gets it done. You know, he looks really good on the Rams. We all knew all he needed was a change of scenery, and he's proving that to us these past 2 weeks in the NFL. And it's hard for Carson Wentz, man. I heard he sprained 2 of his ankles. Not 1, that's right, 2. Left ankle and right ankle are sprained, so speedy recovery for him. He just can't get over that injury bug. Next is the Bills just creaming the Dolphins, 35-0. Josh Allen, a $179 passing, 2 touchdowns and an interception. Stephon Diggs, 4 catches, 60 yards and a touchdown. Devin Singletary and Zach Moss each combined for 3 touchdowns rushing. And as for the Dolphins, Tua Tagovailoa left the game in the first quarter with a rib injury. So Jacoby Brissett came in, threw 169 yards passing, no touchdowns and an interception. You know, the Bills just slaughtered the Dolphins. The Bills' defense was relentless. They had 6 sacks and an interception. And the Bills also ran the ball very well, while the Dolphins weren't able to do anything. And I'm hoping Tua's okay. You know, he's a young kid, young rookie, or not rookie, second-year player, but he's still young. You know, hate to see injuries happen. Next is the Patriots crushing the Jets, 25-6. Mac Jones had 186 passing yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, and Damian Harris and James White each had a rushing touchdown. Zach Wilson threw for 210 passing yards, no touchdowns, but 4 interceptions. Yikes. Patriots defense had themselves a day, 4 picks and 4 sacks. Mac Jones has looked good so far, no turnovers by him. And Zach Wilson was seeing ghosts out there like Sam Darnold. You know, he had an awful game, but you can't blame him. The Jets really have nothing to help him. Kind of like how Sam Darnold was, you know. But hopefully the Jets can get on the right track, man, because it's just depressing probably to be a Jets fan. Next is the Bears beating the Bills, the Bears beating the Bengals, 20-17. Andy Dalton, 56 yards passing, touchdown, no interceptions, but left the game with a knee injury. Justin Fields had 60 yards passing and an interception. Allen Robinson had a touchdown catch. As for the Bengals QB, Joe Burrow, 207 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. 1 went for a pick 6. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins each caught a touchdown. And the Bears defense just ate that day. You know, 3 picks, 1 for 6, 4 sacks, a forced fumble. And, you know, even though Andy Dalton got hurt, he got a W versus former team for the 2nd year in a row. And Joe Burrow, he had a rough game. You know, he had 3 straight picks on 3 straight drives. So, yikes. Rough outing for Burrow. Next is the Bucs beating the Falcons 48-25, TB12, 276 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a fumble. Mike Evans, 5 catches, 75 yards, and a touchdown. Chris Godwin, receiver for the Bucs, had a touchdown, and Gronkowski, he had 2 touchdowns for himself. Matt Ryan for the Falcons, 300 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. 2 of them went for pick 6s. Calvin Ridley had 7 catches for 63 yards and a touchdown. Cordell Patterson, he had a receiving and a rushing touchdown this game. And is Tom Brady ever going to stop balling out? I mean, 5 touchdowns in his 40s is just ridiculous. Gronk looking like his Patriot self with 2 touchdowns. And as for Matt Ryan, I just think he needs to retire, man. You know, I really think he just needs to hang the cleats up. He had a great career, but now it's over now, you know, in my opinion at least. Next is the Cardinals beating the Vikings in a really good game, 34-33. Kyler Murray, 400 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a rushing touchdown. Rookie Rondale Moore had 7 catches for $114 and a touchdown. DeAndre Hopkins scored a touchdown, and A.J. Green scored his first touchdown as a Cardinal. Kirk Cousins threw for 244 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Dalvin Cook rushed for 131 yards, and Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen each scored a touchdown as well. My thoughts were that the kicking woes haunt the Vikings again. The Vikings always lose those heartbreakers. They did everything they could to win. They had 3 sacks, 2 picks, one that went for 6, but it just wasn't enough. And Kyler Murray looked sharp out there for the Cardinals. He's definitely in the MVP conversation this early on in the year, and rightfully so. I mean, he's been lighting it up these past couple weeks. Next is the Titans winning a thriller in overtime, 33-30 against the Seahawks. Tannehill had 347 passing yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, but did fumble the ball. Derrick Henry had a monster game, 182 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns, and 6 catches for 55 yards. Julio Jones had 6 catches for 128 yards, so it's good to see him back out there balling. Russell Wilson had 343 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Chris Carson had 2 rushing touchdowns. Tyler Lockett with another monster game, 8 catches, 178 yards, and a touchdown. This was a really fun game to keep updates on. I wasn't watching because I was watching the Cowboys game, but I know the Seahawks led 30-16 at one point in the fourth quarter, but the Titans were able to rally back, and they rallied back through Derrick Henry. He did what he did best. He started off slow, but then exploded in the fourth, and that's usually what always happens. He starts off slow in the first 3 quarters, fourth quarter comes around, boom, rips off like an 80-something yard run. Like we see it all the time. He just wears defenses out in the game. Next is the Cowboys. My Dallas Cowboys beating the Chargers 20-17. Dak Prescott, 237 yards passing, no touchdowns, and an interception. Tony Pollard had a nice game. He had 13 carries, which resulted in 109 yards and a touchdown. Zeke Elliott had 71 yards and a touchdown on 16 carries. CeeDee Lamb had 8 catches, 81 yards. As for the Chargers, Justin Herbert, 338 yards passing, a touchdown and 2 interceptions. Keenan Allen, 4 catches for 180 yards, and Mike Williams had 7 catches for 91 yards and a touchdown. The Cowboys got back to running the ball efficiently, and that's what I like to see, and that's why they won the game. And also the defense. The defense played nice well. Trayvon Diggs had a pick, and DeMonte Casey had a huge pick in the red zone. Rookie linebacker Micah Parsons was asked to play DE because defensive end DeMarcus Lawrence and Randy Gregory were out, and he had 8 QB pressures and a sack. The 2 negatives from that game, Dak can be a little selfish. They were moving the ball well, and he got a little too trigger happy and threw a pick, but it is what it is. And McCarthy's clock management was just awful. There's like 30 seconds left on the clock. Cowboys still had a timeout, and they ran it all the way down to like 2 or 3 seconds. Luckily, Greg the Leg saved the day with a 56-yard game-winning field goal. Next is the Ravens beating the Chiefs in a thriller too. We have the Ravens winning 36-35. Lamar Jackson, 239 yards passing, an interception, or a touchdown and 2 interceptions, 107 rushing yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns. Patrick Mahomes had 343 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. Travis Kelce had 7 catches, 109 yards, and a touchdown. My thoughts on this game was that Lamar did what he did best, and that's run the football. The Chiefs' defense could not stop the run against the Ravens. The Chiefs did everything they could to win the game. They were up 11 points. They were frustrating Lamar. They got a pick 6 from him. And unfortunately, the Mahomes throwing a pick and then Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumbling is what turned the game around. And Lamar finally got his first win versus the Chiefs, so congrats to Lamar. And finally, the Monday Night Football game, the Packers beating the Lions 35-17. Aaron Rodgers, 255 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Aaron Jones, 67 rushing yards and a touchdown. He also had 6 catches for 48 yards and 3 receiving touchdowns. Monster game out of him. Devontae Adams, 8 catches for 121 yards. Jared Goff for the Lions, 246 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, an interception, and a fumble. TJ Hawkinson was his favorite target. He had 8 catches for 66 yards and a touchdown. My thoughts, like I said, Aaron Rodgers wasn't going to struggle back-to-back weeks. He absolutely shredded the Lions. He was pissed off from last week, so he just needed to prove a point. The Lions had a chance, but failing a fourth down conversion and later the bad snap that Goff fumbled in Green Bay territory was the nail in the coffin. So that's it. Thank you all for listening. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, subscribe to my YouTube channel, do whatever you can to promote my page. Thank you all and have a wonderful day.